I should listen to this gear breakdown Jennifer sent me. The Aqua Shift is a sub-weapon used primarily for movement. It was originally intended to be outfitted to MAO2 Andrea. Unfortunately, we ran into some issues, and it wasn't finished in time. When I was analyzing G Sophia, I saw footage of Andrea's final moments in the log data. I wonder if things would have turned out differently if Andrea had it. There's no use thinking about it now, though. Oh jeez, I was in the middle of an explanation. Right, so it transforms the MA into a quasi-fluid and shifts its gravity vector forward into a burst of flowing acceleration. It's similar in function to the burn spark that G Sophia had before. However, due to its fluid form, it doesn't deal damage to enemies. On the other hand, it lets you avoid damage at the same time. The fluid form will let you pass through chain fences and narrow paths as well. Also, any contact with electricity will electrify the fluid form. Maybe you could make good use of that somehow. Will do, Jennifer. Welcome to part 12 of Blaster Master 03. The tank is about to enter stage 2 of this forbidden sector, and we may have to fight Eve. Or we may not, we don't know for sure. If there's one thing that makes 03 the oddball of the trilogy, Eve's screen time is rather limited. And I don't know, that kind of threw me off at first, seeing how she only gets maybe 4 scenes total in the 6 to 8 hours that you're playing this, especially since she's the deuteragonist of the series, or in some cases maybe even the main protagonist herself. So I find it kind of odd that she's barely in this game at all. There's another Life Energy Guard beta right there just in case you need it. I'm not debating that keeping Eve away from Jason for story plot is bad, it's just the way they write it is a bit wonky. Especially if you play 02 and then immediately play 03 afterwards, you're gonna notice that saving Eve is pretty much the goal of the whole entire series. Only except instead of an illness, you're saving Eve from the mutants. And I will give the writers credit in that they always seem to make a way so that Eve has agency as to why she's always kidnapped or in trouble, instead of just being a damsel in distress, because I always hate that trope, and I always will. Anyway, this dungeon is actually pretty important. You need to go in here in order to grab an item that is crucial to beating the game. You cannot progress without this item. This dungeon is not clearly marked on your map as being any different from all the other dungeons in the game, but you will notice that the door slightly is, and that Kane's Sophia logo is actually on top of the entrance. And how you get the final weapon in this dungeon kind of threw me for a loop at first, but it's rather simple actually. You can do whatever you want with this. You can either go through the dungeon as normal and just keep on going until you get the final weapon, or just take all the subspace routes and then for the last part of the dungeon, don't go through subspace, go through the dungeon as normal. I'm emphasizing the last part of the dungeon because if you go through subspace in that part of the dungeon and you're trying to get the final weapon, some door will just lock behind you and you have to do the dungeon all over again. So that's fun. And this dungeon is long too. It's probably like 5 or 10 minutes. It's one of the longer dungeons in the game, so have fun redoing at least 5 to 10 minutes of extra gameplay. Especially if you're going through the normal route. But hey, I'm always looking at this on the bright side. That will give you plenty of opportunities to go super mutant and go through super dimensional space just to get that good ending. And no, not the super mutant from Fallout, I just realized what I said there. Jason cannot transform into that monstrosity. Huh. Good to know that there's seemingly drinkable water in this dimension. Maybe this place ain't so bad after all. Well, okay, maybe not. You still got the freakishly grotesque mutants running all over the place trying to kill you. But Eve is the mutant queen after all, and maybe she can find a way to tame them and live happily ever after. Until a probable 04, that is. We don't know. Let's just hope that this game series stays at 3 instead of 4 and that any other future projects based on this are spin-offs, because the story is already so good, and I recalled in the past that there was another Zero series that was supposed to end at 3, but they did 4 anyway, because why not? I'm not going to point any fingers because you probably know what I'm talking about already. Well, actually, if they were to do a 04, it's probably going to be like in a different generation because the game's ending. Now, I'm not going to spoil too much, but you'll see the connections to Star Wars and particularly Mega Man, where there might be somebody new taking the helm. I see what they're doing here. They're trying to make this a generational saga. Interesting. But I still don't know if this game will get a sequel or not, or even a spin-off. It's still unconfirmed. My gut is saying, in the story right here, I'm happy with this trilogy, and this is probably the best trilogy of all time. At least in terms of video games, I don't know. It's definitely consistent. And my fanboy side of me is saying, let's see where this goes. This game made too much money to die just right now. I want to see more of this. But knowing Inti creates, they'll probably just make a side story with the other MA pilots. That would be really cool. Except for maybe Gumbay, because he's honestly kind of boring. Sorry, I don't like Gumbay as much anymore. Anyway, you'll pick up an item that extends your black hole bombs. It's the G Extender. Raises the max stock on your graviton erasers. I believe the number is 10 now. So I went through all the subspace routes for this dungeon, but I could not get the final weapon for the dungeon. Therefore, I have to do this place again. God damn it. Don't go into super dimensional space for this part. Just go down the hallway for your super ultimate secret, ultimate weapon of mass destruction that destroys everything in one hit. Kind of. Well, not really, but almost. The game is even nice enough to point you in the direction of the weapon with Tron lines. And now for the ultimate weapon, the final Excel Blast, history's greatest mutant blasting weapon. It's a screen nuke. A legit no-shit screen nuke, not a spirit bomb or a straight-firing laser. A screen nuke. And we'll be seeing that later. I only show it off once. It's a wonder how G. Sophia, Jason, and Leibniz survived the blowback of this attack, but then again I just imagine them cranking the shields up to max. In fact, if you look at the G. Sophia closely, you'll see it spark every now and then, just to know that the G. Sophia may not be okay. We may have to give the tank a send-off by self-destructing it in front of a whole bunch of mutants Star Trek 3 style. And have Christopher Lloyd screaming in the background too, because that's always fun. Get out of there! Get out of there! I always love that scene of Star Trek 3. But that doesn't happen, unfortunately. In fact, the G. Sophia goes out in the most pathetic way possible by just cropping out in the middle of a boss fight and Jason having to go on foot. Leibniz even sums that situation up by saying, okay, what now? Yeah, even that situation is hard to handle, hard to believe. It's one of those gameplay clashing with the story elements. You know, you can take a lot of hits and beatings with the tank in standard gameplay, but once that story mode hits and you get hit by a pebble, the whole thing comes crashing down because plot demands it. Got another elevator section here, but this time it's mutants instead of SF. Take note that the mutant enemies take at least 2 hits to take down with the SF ammo. The brain enemies, at least 5. I think it's 5 or 6, I don't know. You can cheat this section sort of by using the multi-legs to get around the spider enemies. However, the mutant slugs and the mother brains will still recognize you as a threat. Alright, now on our way to Area 2 of the Forbidden Sector with more of this ominous background. Jason, I have the final report on Eve's DNA. Are you ready? Yes. Regarding the current revival of the mutants, their behavior is clearly different from the invasion 10 years ago. So, are you saying that they aren't trying to invade this time? What are they up to then? We finally connected Eve's status as Mutant Queen to the invasion. The mutants' objective is to protect Eve, their queen. The mutants are protecting Eve? The SF who captured Eve are now working to destroy her. The mutants appeared in order to protect their queen from that enemy. That is the impetus behind their revival.
So Jason's no different from the SF. All a bunch of garbage trying to get to the queen. Mutants are smarter than I thought, defending their queen like that. Still, the only way they know how to defend is by just attacking. They're just brainless meat sacks. Real nasty creatures.
The dimensional ruptures around Sophia occurred for the same reason. The mutants broke down the barriers between dimensions in order to protect Eve. Without the Excel Charger, I wouldn't be able to survive the forces of superdimensional space. They must have taken her there to keep enemies from getting too close. Lastly, I've got some bad news. Her body has already acclimated to superdimensional space, which is essentially turning her into a different life form. She may become something beyond mutant or organic life form, and perhaps even beyond a physical form entirely. A superdimensional life form, so to speak.
What are you saying, that we're already too late?
No, we don't know that for sure. We still have the elemental blaster. As I said before, whether or not Eve can return to normal is all up to the feelings for Eve you hold in your heart, Jason. My heart. Jason, can you still trust? Hold on. Before you say anything else, I have an important message. Kane! Jason, you may want to sit down for this. Well, where can you stand in the fucking tank? The planetary government has declared that Eve is the mutant core. She's been given the enemy codename Mvam Queen. That can't be. As a high-level threat to Sophia, she has been ordered to be destroyed. The SF assault operation on the Forbidden Sector will begin soon. In more ways than one, there is not much time left to rescue Eve. But isn't it possible that Eve has been kidnapped by the mutant core? You're right, we cannot deny that possibility. However, we also cannot deny that Eve could be colluding with the mutants. In either case, the Mvam Queen is the root of the problem.
Hey, Kane Gardner, you're okay with that? You're just gonna let Eve die?
As commander of Sophia, I can only act to defend the planet from that which threatens its survival. I will be on the front lines of the assault. It is my responsibility to ensure that Eve is destroyed. Kane! So then, Jason, I have something I must ask you. Can you still trust Eve? There's no one in this world closer to her than you, Jason. Trust in Eve and save her, or say her goodbyes and destroy her. You will decide which one it will be. It's not even a choice. I trust Eve. If whether or not I can save Eve depends on my heart, no one else even has a chance of saving her. It's all up to me. Understood. In that case, I have my own decision to make. Enemy code, Blaster Master, Jason Frutnik. As Commander of Sophia, I must recognize you as a significant risk to the success of our operation. Kane, you... In other words, an unknown factor now threatens our assault operation. Its commencement must be postponed. I'm not sure if that excuse will work, but perhaps we can buy some time before the SF begins their attack. Kane, can you just suddenly delay everything at the last minute like that? What about your standing with the SF? Don't worry about that. This is nothing new for me. That's right. Just like old times, I always wonder what mess you'll make. Listen up. No matter what happens out there, I'll take total responsibility and make sure the heat stays off of you. All you need to do is focus on saving Eve. Got it? Understood. Thank you, Kane, Jennifer, Jason, for our precious daughter. Use your heart to protect her. We're counting on you. Kane has a rather distant relationship with his daughter Eve. I'm not sure if that was not properly conveyed in the game or they just didn't have time to write it. But I think there should have been more conflict with Kane, having him be more like, oh, I don't want to have to kill Eve, but the planet's at stake. Or at least I think the planet's at stake, I don't know for sure. You know, something like that to make Cain appear more sympathetic for Eve and actually try to help out Jason every once in a while instead of worrying about standing with the Sophia Force, because to hell with the Sophia Force. Anyway, we got another alien uterus level, which was not in the second game for some reason, but it was definitely in the first game, but only except on Earth. And we get our final upgrade for Sophia, the Phantom Solid. It's a block builder! Yeah! That's really kind of disappointing. I think this item is a reference to Mr. Gimmick or maybe even Euphoria, but I'm not sure if any of those characters use blocks to get around. I know for sure that Mr. Gimmick used stars to get around, but not blocks. And not only that, it's the last weapon you get in the whole entire series. What a lame final weapon. But that's just my opinion. It's definitely situational, and you do need it in order to pass the game, for sure, because look at this, I can't get to that door. That fucking sucks. What you do with the Phantom Solid is you make blocks on top of these invisible blocks in order to create a path for yourself. That's basically about it. Oh, well, Planet G is now a floor. What a plot twist. What you do is you stomp on Planet G from high up. And honestly, this section goes a bit too far with the Planet G. It feels like every other floor I just stomp on Planet G here. Admittedly, that is fun doing that, but after the second or third time it gets old. You got these veiny doors that will open in normal space, but will not open in super dimensional space. Whenever you're in subspace, the veins are all dried up and gray looking and you can't shoot through those. I'm coming close to the second batch of bosses, making this a 2-part boss rush. I will say that I'm glad this isn't some gigantic boss room with 8 different Mavericks. They know how to incorporate the bosses into the areas themselves here. The last 4 bosses are going to be the major boss mutants, aka the boss mutants that have 2 health bars and 2 farms that you have to take down. The first boss will be Dual Kurkul, or Kurkal, however you pronounce that name, the mutant spider from Area 2. And he's pathetically easy now because Dual Kurkul is, well, technically he's the first boss of the game. And it's a good thing that Blaster Master 3 doesn't have the Mega Man X5 issue of actually scaling the boss's powers with your powers. Oh boy, I don't like X5 at all. We'll be getting to that game eventually. X5 is long overdue. Well, not really, because the next 3 games in the series are... No! Actually, I don't think I've played that one. Is X8 even good? And I will get this out of the way right now. I think Mega Man X7 is the worst game in the franchise. Not X6, not Classic 8. Those games are actually masterpieces compared to X7. I just don't like X7 at all. Even mentioning that game gives me chills. I don't hate games that often, but X7 is the rare case where I despise everything about it. And I'll explain more on my reason of why I hate that game when we get to it in like 10,000 years, because I'm not gonna want to play that. Before I go back on subject, I got a quick question. What is a game or a game series that you don't care for or even dislike? For me, it's Alex Kidd. I cannot stand playing any of the Alex Kidd games. Okay, getting back on subject. For this part, Planet G is blasting a laser at you, or attempting to, and you got a laser of your own, the Elemental Blaster. Just use it and make sure you're pointing it the right direction he's facing, otherwise you're just gonna whiff it and take damage. And you'll still take damage when you use the Elemental Blaster. It's one of those weapons, but you'll gain the health energy back. Health energy. I cannot enunciate my words to save my own ass. You don't get any more items from beating a boss, which is kind of unfortunate. I would have loved to see more stuff, but oh well. Phantom Solid will do. Conspicuously placed checkpoint for transporting Sophia to you. Leibniz, I summon thee! Geez, getting to Eve in this game is a test in patience. Hopefully the mutant transformation didn't affect her body in any way. Other than the obvious growth spurt and oversized balloons now, but that's just because age happened. And yes, I did just call Eve's breasts balloons because they're literally the size of balloons now. It was only 2 games ago where she was petite, but now her jugs are the size of Jason's helmet. It's bizarre. Okay, I'm gonna get off the fan service subject. That invisible floor is not so invisible. That's just Planet G in the other dimension. So you have to get over to the other dimension in order to destroy him and get back to this dimension and get through that floor. And how are we gonna do that? Well, we're just gonna use the Phantom Solid to get through those crawl spaces we couldn't otherwise. There we go, now drive up the wall. Up the wall. Drive up the... Oh, my SP is out. Why does the wall drive take SP? That's stupid. It didn't do that in the first game. Okay, now get up the wall. There we go. All that for energy I probably didn't even need. One thing I don't like about the finale of this game is it's super long-winded. It just takes too long. Just like the previous game, there is an extra dungeon after this point, but that dungeon is, I'd say, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most. And most of the extra dungeon is just another boss gauntlet. Oh boy, can't get enough of those boss gauntlets. But honestly, the boss rush in the extra dungeon is quite different than what you expect. The only way to get back up this crawl space is by using the Phantom Solid in midair. It is tricky to use in midair because of how it activates. It just pauses time and you have to place it in just the right location in order to get up this wall, which is easier said than done. And if I'm not mistaken, you cannot have more than 1 row of Phantom Solid blocks on screen at once. Not 2, not 3, and if you try to put more than 1 row, the first row would just disappear automatically for some inexplicable reason. It's truly a bizarre weapon to use. Oh, I'm sorry, not a weapon, an item, because it doesn't even hurt enemies. Here's a long vertical section right here, followed by 2 veiny doors, and then a dead end, or what appears to be a dead end before these dimension hoppers come in. I'm taking your dimensional rift, you dirty snake. On second thought, I think I missed an item down below. Just slide down here and avoid all the beehives for another life energy guard. The next subspace area is full of those dimensional distortions that you don't have to worry about anymore because they can't kill you in one hit. The tank is pretty much a god now, it can transcend dimensions at will. Or at least the G Sophia is uber fucking powerful if I do say so myself. My god, tanks are badass. You have to navigate this maze here, which is not really a maze, it's just really windy and it could get you turned around with all the distortions here. Here's the 60th Planet G door, or floor rather. Just do what you did before and stomp on its face and that will destroy it real quickly, like 5 hits. And I'm sure I'm gonna run into this thing another 30 times before the stage ends. I guarantee you that. Dungeon 2. This place sucks. Finding the dimensional rupture to get to subspace is, I swear, I always find it in the last room for some reason. And there's a lot of damn rooms in here. I don't know if it's a bad sense of direction on my part, or if it's just literally supposed to be like this. It also doesn't help that certain rooms have enemies that keep spawning in after you kill them. You don't even have to scroll the screen like in Mega Man, they just spawn in through portals as soon as you kill them. Respawning enemies are a mistake. Like right there, that Vital's head spawned on top of me as I was exiting the room. Come on, guys. It's only a matter of getting to the portal in order to progress, which I think the portal is on the other side of the room. Oh boy. So I'm not too far from here now. No. How about this room? No. Okay, can't be anywhere else. Maybe this room. There we go. Shit. It's like playing Battleship where the opponent only has one ship left. And it's, of course, the tiny-ass freaking 2-hit ship. I think it's the frigate or something. I don't know. Haven't played Battleship in years. I know that's a bizarre analogy right there, but that's what it is. It's finding a needle in a haystack. The way the blast counters work in this game is a bit different. You have to be quicker in order to dodge some attacks. I noticed that in BMT2 there's a lot more room for error. The attacks were generally slower in that game. This game, however, attacks come flying at you at Mach 50 and you have to dodge accordingly. If you don't dodge accordingly or you mistime your dodge in this game, there will be a cooldown period. It's nothing strenuous, it's like 5 seconds before you can dodge again. That was a change that I did not care for at first, but considering that the life energy guards are now essentially body armor and extra hits, it's okay, I guess, but I like the old system of pressing triangle without consequence. That's just me. Sounds like I'm talking about Kingdom Hearts 2's combat system. Press triangle without consequence to win the game. Trust me, there's a lot more to Kingdom Hearts 2's combat system. The next room coming up, you'll run into another Planet G freak of nature which you have to blast away with your elemental blaster. Be careful though, there are bottomless pits here, which makes no sense. Aren't you already on a bottomless pit with a space background? You know what? I'm not even gonna question it. You gotta hold down the sub-weapon button in order to get the full potential of the elemental blaster. And yes, there will be some moments where you think you finished charging the elemental blaster and you let go of the button a split second too early, but it deactivates and you have to activate it again. I've done that on multiple occasions. Alright, one more boss to go. I actually miscounted. I thought there were 4 more bosses left, but there's actually 3 bosses in this area. So, definitely one more boss to go. You may know what this boss is, and of course I'm going to use the super awesome method of one-hit kill bullshit. Going back into subspace, we got a couple more of those Planet G floor tile decoration things. Definitely not as played out as those donut snake things from Mega Man X6, that's for sure. Cause who likes fighting those things? And I only know that those mini bosses were snakes because somebody told me that. It's not like the game actually put in the effort to animate those things. Oh boy, X6 is a mess. But enough about X6 because who likes talking about that game? We're getting closer to the end of this area. Thank goodness, it's been an hour. And we're getting closer to seeing Eve and probably going to fight her. Or not, depending on how this finale goes. Is it a bad ending or a good ending? We don't know. Well, seeing as this game also has 2 endings like the previous 2 games, I'm gonna have to assume we're going for the good ending and saving Eve. So yeah, back to subspace in order to destroy that damn floor. I will say that this song playing right now is boring. It's my least favorite track in the whole entire game. I see what they were doing in trying to make this song sound kind of similar to the other song that played in Area 8 of Blaster Master Zero, the original, but it just sounds kind of boring and lazy. Whereas the song from Blaster Master Zero's Area 8 was ominous and kind of threatening. That's the Venus Flytrap from Hell's special power, a freaking laser beam. Where are the mutants getting all this energy and power from? It's like they're fucking Dragon Ball Z characters or something. And no, they're not going to explain this at all. The mutants always have powers and they always will. Alright, here's the last boss of this boss rush. It's Cerebos again. Here's the boss strategy again. The cybernetic head takes the most damage with the SF ammo, whereas the organic skull heads take the most damage with the rain clusters. That is still one ugly motherfucker. Oh, we're not done yet, huh? We got another mini-boss, background object thing that we need to destroy before we can move on. And you might notice an eye in the corner right there. What was that? Come back. Where'd it go? Okay. I thought it was going to show up again, but that's what that eye was. It's Plan 8G again. Alright, you bastard, time to end this once and for all. I'm unleashing the final Excel Blast. I'm gonna finish this with the big anime finish to end all big anime finishes! No, it didn't end like that. Yeah, that was the final Excel Blast. The tank is intact, but boy does it drain everything from your SP and actually no, your health is still intact. But that Plan 8G does not really do anything, that's just kind of a roadblock to open this gate up. So, tune in next time for more Blaster Master 03, where we actually get to finally see Eve, for once. See you then.